right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you very much, Amy and Kristen. Welcome, everybody, to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host, Josh Taylor. In tonight for Rich Walsh. Joining me at the desk from the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. You probably heard him on Trib Live Radio. He joins us a lot on the #1 Cochrane Nightly Sports Call. He does a lot of different things, kind of like I do, which is why we're all over the place. Tim Benz joins me right now. Tim, story of the night. Broke probably after we got done with the 7 o'clock news earlier this evening. Ole Mata probably making a lot of Penguins fans' dreams come true. He's one of the guys that was complained about often as far as the defense was concerned. He's been traded to the Chicago Blackhawks for Dominic Cahoon, a 23-year-old forward in Chicago, and also a 5th-round pick in this year's draft. Your immediate thoughts when hearing about this trade?
My immediate thoughts were, how much of the salary are they retaining? My immediate thoughts were, what am I missing? My immediate thoughts were, is there a second part to this trade that hasn't come across the wire yet? I really like it for the Penguins. In fact, Josh, I would go so far as to say this is more like the kind of trade that I expected Jim Rutherford to try to pull off with Phil Kessel to Minnesota that didn't end up transpiring, which is to shed a lot of salary, get one potentially decent, useful young player in return, get closer to cap compliance, then get maneuverability from there. So I'm all about it. I mean, you got I know he took a circuitous route to get to the NHL. 23-year-old rookie, doesn't have the highest pedigree in the world, not the thickest guy in the world, but get 13 goals and 37 points as a rookie on a not very good team, and I believe 35 of those points at even strength. Penguins need to get better at even strength, and this guy might help them with that. He can be any one of the 3 forward positions. It could be their 3rd-line center, who knows, maybe a 4th-line guy. They get younger, they get faster, and they get cheaper. I don't know what's not to like about this.
And if you follow some of the moves they made, even dating back during the season, you think about the Juuso Riikola deal. You think about some of the trades that they made. Marcus Pettersson comes to mind. It was kind of that same profile. They got younger, they got faster, got a little bit cheaper. So this seems like that falls that mold.
Yeah, I guess I'll answer my own question, or I'll debate myself on this. The only way that you could argue against this trade is if you're somebody who says my #1 goal was to see them shed Johnson's contract instead of anybody else's on defense, because they might still try to do that, I guess, and then maybe go with Ruedel or try to find a young defensive replacement, also on the trade market to be their #6. But in moving Mata, that probably means if you were one that was holding out hope of trying to move Johnson's contract as well, that's less likely now. But, you know, if Ole Mata, for as much as I like him, and I do, and I've defended him.
Very well liked by a lot of our colleagues.
But not by the fan base, you know, and like I've argued against a Mata hate parade for I don't know how many years now. The guy who doesn't like this trade is Jack Johnson, because now everything is his fault. Everything is, and maybe Matt Murray, because now they can blame the goalie more than Ole Mata for all the goals, because he was a whipping boy by the end.
Now, here's a question, because you talked about Jack Johnson's contract not being moved. We know, of course, he was supposed to be part of that proposed Phil Kessel trade with Minnesota that did not happen. Was that their best chance of moving that contract?
Yeah, probably, but I wouldn't give up hope yet. This has a smell to it of what Kevin Colbert did with Martavis Bryant and the Oakland Raiders. Remember, they were going to keep Martavis, and all of a sudden the Raiders came along and said, we'll give you a 3rd-round pick, and all of a sudden Martavis is gone. Not all that different from Antonio Brown. We're not just going to give away Antonio Brown. They gave away Antonio Brown. All right, so let's not kid ourselves. I know it helped them at the draft, but they gave away Antonio Brown, and that sort of feels like the same sensation right now as what's going on with Kessel. So
now, we want to get to the Pirates also, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. Before we get to that point, something we want to talk about before we get to that point. Now, we know there was a handful of teams competing this weekend, both baseball and softball on the high school state level. Due to some complications last night, we weren't able to show those teams competing, so we want to recognize them right now because we don't want to make them go unmentioned. Beaver baseball and also Fraser and Penn Trafford softball, congratulations on the state championship season. Also, shout-outs to Sarah Catholic baseball. They were a runner-up in their class, as well as Elizabeth Forward softball. So we want to acknowledge those teams on a well-played season. We will take a break. We'll talk Pirates when we come back. Plus, we're taking your phone calls, 412-575-2600 on the Borders and Borders hotline. Stick around.
The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, putting new roofs on Pittsburgh homes for over 25 years. Call Ireland Contracting at 1-800-NEW-ROOF.